Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Gooner Gathering. I am Gooner Lee Meads, and hopefully I'm a little bit more calmer than I was when you saw me on Saturday. Joined by Sam Wilson. How are you, Sam? You okay, mate?
Yes, I'm all right. It is what it is. It's kind of come to I had the bitterness and the disappointment of the weekend where I turned it off before kind of the game finished and didn't want to see any of the afterwards. And then, yeah, it was just, yeah, it's kind of the inevitable though. So I kind of got over it a little bit.
Yeah, I get that, mate. I get that. We'll jump straight into it. But before I do that, quick little plug. It'll be my probably one and only plug before we do this. And it's just so everyone knows that we are linking up with Retro Football Management. There is a free download in the pinned comment. It's a wonderful little mobile phone game. It's a free download. I play it all the time myself. It's a lot of fun. And I'm going to say that I'm going to put a gameplay up on it tomorrow. So that's my video coming up for tomorrow. Hope you enjoy the game. It's a lot of fun. We've got a gameplay of me playing it for this season. So hopefully I can maybe finish like top of the league rather than finish like second or something. But let's have a quick jump in. Oh, look, here's Posh Bertie on there. Shabba, it's good to see you, mate. How are you? Hope you're feeling okay. Hope you've got a bit of voice as well. My broadcast partner and Poshest man in sports entertainment has got no voice. It's bad news. So it's going to be a little bit quieter than normal, eh? But we'll jump straight into the Forest game, shall we? I know it's why we're here, and I'm going to do something a little bit different today. I've taken the tactics graphic off Sky Sports. It might be a bit small, but
No, I can see it.
I'm glad you can because I'm off my phone, mate. But luckily, I have my trusty notepad with me, and we'll go through it. So, when we saw the starting lineups come through, tell us the story you just told me off air, mate. What were your thoughts?
So I got a text message thinking, oh, they said the team's a bit strange. We're looking a bit short on the bench, and I then got back in my car, put TalkSport on, and kind of listened. And when they said Granit Xhaka's playing at left back, I kind of then completely lost my head and saying left back. We've got a left back sat on the bench, and he's just on the bench. And somebody else that's supposed Jade was sat next to me, and she went, "What? He don't play there, does he?" And I went, "No."
No, he definitely shouldn't.
Field. So why is it left back? I'll never know. And it's just, it was just honestly thinking about it, it was just made for Forest to win, wasn't it? To stay up and to beat us when we're on the ropes and
absolutely
show any character at all.
But as it, as I was trying to work out, and as I said via our official Twitter page as well, I thought Xhaka was playing at left back as well. But lo and behold, we were very, very wrong. And by the way, your dad makes a great comment here. Were Arsenal playing on Saturday? I missed it. So Posh is the voice of the voiceless. Yeah, there's a CM Punk reference in there. But lo and behold, we had a complete shift around in the back line. Kivior had been playing centre half for a good little while. Has been shunted out to the left. Ben White is playing at centre half. And a good friend of ours, Jez Collins, might have choked on his cup of tea when he had seen Thomas Partey playing, I'm going to air quote it, hybrid right back. So Xhaka was actually playing in his midfield spot alongside Jorginho and Ødegaard. Other change, of course, Trossard was in for the injured Martinelli. Seen pictures of Martinelli literally about half an hour ago, still in a protective boot, bless him. So obviously he's from the Brighton game, I want to say. But we had Trossard in for him. Jesus and Saka again playing up front. So let's digest all that, mate. What were your thoughts on seeing that from the kickoff?
Well, thankfully, I didn't bear witness to the first half of the football. I just got a couple of messages that had from that same group that told me about the lineup with a couple of dots. So I was thinking, oh, here we go. They've scored. So I quickly went onto my app and went, oh, Forest have scored. Please, I'm not watching it. And then I watched the goal back as you do on the app, and you go, well, Erdegaard's played a through ball to them in order for them to score. So I just thought, well, that sums it up, really.
I mean, it assisted Gibbs White with the assist. I thought, yeah. I mean, we'll dive into it a little bit. I could kind of see what he was trying to do, but the pass was wayward, unfortunately. Set Morgan's Gibbs White out, who actually I do want to say, I want to say this on record, that Gibbs White I thought was exceptional during the match. I thought he'd played a brilliant game. Hello, Spencer. Nice to see you, mate. I actually messaged Spencer before about an hour ago, and unfortunately I didn't see it. Spencer, if you wanted to jump in and join us on the panel, mate, you are more than welcome. I'll drop the link in if you like. There we go. Let me invite guests, and I'll pop it in the chat if I can figure out how to do this. Sorry, this is really, really professional of me.
Well, I could just
go on, mate. You carry on.
I'll just because it's copied on my phone currently, so I'll just.
All right, I've done it. There it is. But so I would say so. So they got in. They got the early goal that they really needed to settle their nerves, Forest. And I even think from that point, I think we might have had just sort of one half sort of chance, a Saka, a corner, a Jesus header, and that was about it. And I don't think we managed to get our passing game together at all during the match. I think we looked lost in our setup. I think we just looked confused. I don't think anyone understood where they were supposed to be. I mean, that's just me watching it. I don't know how they felt in the pitch, but and it just there were so many questions alongside it as well. I mean, I want to make sure you mention Kieran Tierney not playing from the start, because you would have thought with Zinchenko being out as he is for the season, surely you want to play your first choice left back, the official left back that you actually have. What were your thoughts on Kieran not actually starting?
To be honest with you, I've got no clue, because when he's just I think he's such an amazing player, and we're kind of just wasting him sat on the bench. Yeah. He's going to go to another Premier League side, I think, and just boss it. And we'll be sat there thinking, why was he sat on the bench?
I suspect he'll be playing for a side that plays in black and white and about to play against Newcastle, about to play against Leicester.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. That's the talk, isn't it? But it just you sit there and think, make it make sense.
Yeah.
It's not possible to make it make sense when you've got a left back sat on the bench. And a good left back in that. It's not like we've got somebody that we often say is not very good or consistent is a good player. So it just makes no sense.
It doesn't make sense. The only thing I could have thought of with Tierney not starting is he must have picked up a knock in between the shambolic performance against Brighton and during training, because he had to have done. But
then should he have been even on the bench if he's got a knock? You're only supposed to have players that you can bring on the bench, right? It's pointless having somebody sat on the bench that can't play anyway. So that's why they had some of the younger players on, the bench. There was some younger.
The young lad Walters, I think, was on the bench. He was a fullback as well. I thought he's more of a right side though. But like you said, there's even one I even haven't got no clue on. His name's Mario Bandieri or Bandera, and Kozia Dubry. I think they're all from the youth team, yet to make any sort of appearances in the first team.
Doesn't that in a sense at the end of the season kind of worries you, because you've got Man City yesterday that made 4 changes, but those 4 changes were still players that would walk into any team, and we've got 3 or 4 lads on our bench that are in our youth setup. It doesn't. It goes
to say exactly what we've been saying for quite a while, isn't it? That the strength in depth isn't there currently, and this is my kind of take on that. It's the very reason that Arteta chose to play the weakened lineup in the Europa League to try and protect the first team players that you did have to go for this league campaign, and obviously it's all fallen flat, and that partly goes on Arteta, but it also goes on Edu as well. But we'll bring up some of the comments. Poshes will put a couple of comments in there. Players had mentally clocked out already.
I'd mentally clocked out as well. Like, I was stood at Asda thinking normally I'd be anxious to get home to watch the game because it's just something that I wait. But I was stood there and I'm thinking, do I even have any energy to watch it? And the answer was no.
No.
It didn't bother me at all that I missed the first half. Normally it would. I'm checking my phone constantly, seeing what's going on, but it just didn't bother me because I know it's already done.
Yeah. What I required, my thoughts going into the game was that I'm fully realistic in knowing that, that the whole thing was done anyway. But I wanted to see us go out there, at least play some decent football, at least get a result, and at least have a bit of pride. And it got me to a point that I was so angry that I couldn't help myself but press the buttons on my phone to go live on it, and it wasn't my greatest broadcast ever. It wasn't, because I got myself tongue tied and everything. But it was like, and it was so much that was going wrong. Posh sums it up great here, saying they'd been lenient on Arteta during more than some this season, but everything went wrong on Saturday. It's absolutely right. It's like the 2 weeks of school last week, 2 weeks of school, when your brains are all set on the summer holidays, but there's still 2 weeks to go. It's been a long time since I've gone to school, mate. I can tell you that much. But
I also watched the interview with Ramsdale at the end, and at the start of the season, we all said, right, we've got to give this Europa League a go. We've got to win that and get top 4. But now we've got to the end of the season. When they asked Aaron Ramsdale, well, how's this season been any different to the last? He said, well, if you'd have said to us at the start, top 4, you'd have taken that. So this whole kind of spin on things, just because it's not gone as they'd planned. And you actually wonder, it was disappointing at the end of last season. It makes you wonder if they actually learned anything from that.
I mean, if that was their thought process going in, look, it's one thing, I think, for us to have our expectations going in. You don't want to hear that sort of thing from the players themselves. Do you know what I mean? You want to hear that, we're going to go for this league. We're going to go and win the titles, and we're going to try and get the cups and stuff like that. There was this point that Spencer brought up a couple of days ago, which really, really made me think. And it was the point he made that Pep Guardiola makes a real big thing about the League Cup and making sure a strong sort of side goes out now. And they've been winning it for a good few years now, haven't they? Almost like the mentality of picking up a trophy and keeping the momentum going. Now, that's something Arsenal haven't done in a long time. I don't even think, if you go way back in time when we reached the final against Chelsea In Wenger's days, we even put out reserves there. Now it's almost like, yeah, go on, okay, you've got this far, you go for it. We'll see what happens, and I'm not bothered anyway. Now it made me question myself and my attitude towards the whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
And what were your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it just almost seems like we go out there with these big things. Oh, yeah, let's go win the Europa League and let's go get top 4. But when those things don't happen, we just sit back and settle for however it is. We just go, oh, well, we've kind of made the top 4. That's more than we ever thought of. And then that's it. You go to the next season. It's kind of, yeah, there's no ownership on and no accountability for what we say and what we do. It's just, well, it's happened now. We'll just settle. We'll go again. But but that's almost like the last 20, 25 years. Like we'll just go and it just seems like I don't know. I don't know how to sum it up. It's just
fair enough. Well, look, Steve Wilson says last 7 games have been like a chore, hard to watch, knowing a slip up was always on the cards. Hopefully Arteta has seen what is needed to push on next year, onwards and upwards, he says, with a silly little... There you go, I'm hip, I know what I'm doing. I think I can pinpoint the exact moment where there was a bit of doubt and you'll see it. It'll be at Anfield, and it's when Xhaka had the confrontation with Trent Alexander-Arnold, which changed the whole momentum of the game. I'm just going to stop myself here because waiting in the back here, Spencer is joining us again. So let me just add you to the stream. Hello, mate. How are you today?
Doing all right. Just got another 8 minutes left in work and the day's over. So
we've got a loading screen.
Yeah. Am I still here? Do you hear me?
You're loading, Sam.
Oh, there we go. Great.
Yep.
You hear me now?
Yeah, yes. We're all good.
Good. I'm doing all right.
Well, welcome back to Gooner Gathering, Spencer. So I was just saying to Sam that I think possibly that I can pinpoint almost exactly where all that momentum went and where all the title charge started falling apart. And it was the moment when Granit Xhaka and Trent Alexander-Arnold had their confrontation when we were 2-0 up and cruising at Anfield. And then that sort of changed the momentum of how everything was going, which led to Liverpool scoring very quickly. That's where I think it all started going wrong. Where do you think from that?
That's definitely one of the points. I think I go back to that Sporting Lisbon game too.
Yeah.
The lineup for the Sporting Lisbon game, it was almost like we didn't care about the game, but we kind of did. And then once the game started not going, we were very confident. I think we were going to beat Sporting Lisbon in the home leg. So the lineup was a little makeshift. I think losing Saliba was huge too. And the Xhaka point is, I mean, it's to me, there's not just one incident where things started falling apart. It's a multitude of incidences that led up to a culmination. I mean, winning a Premier League title is the ultimate marathon. You've got a 38 game schedule against 19 teams. The best team usually wins, and we're close. But Man City is just a machine, and there's a lot that goes into why we failed. But the Xhaka one is a good point. It definitely sticks to my head. The Saka missed penalty against West Ham, Ramsdale's pass in the beginning of the Southampton game.
Yeah,
there's a lot.
But as Sam's dad in the comments here saying, last 7 games have been a chore to watch. A slip up always on the cards, but hopefully we can kind of learn from that, I guess, and then we'll see what happens. Good evening to Arsenal Forever, who's just joined us in the chat. I'll put up his comment there. Yeah, I kind of was waiting for a comment like this to come up. Arteta 5 500 million spent, eighth, fifth, second, one final in 4 seasons, 3 European exits at home, 15 trophies, bottled 8-point lead to 15 points behind is a failure. I think there's a lot of anger there in Arsenal forever. I do understand it, because when you are in a position where, you know, everything was looking rosy and we're like, oh, you know, rubbing your hands and maybe saying, oh, it's maybe in sight. I think that's why I don't think any of us, certainly myself and Sam, Posh, we never said that, oh, we know that it's ours. I think we just wanted to play it each game as we went. But it's like, yeah, don't even bring up the dog, Posh, man.
Oh,
But you know, it's like, you know, I had a point in my head, and Posh just threw it out there by bringing that non-story about a blinking dog.
I know where we're going with that, Lee. You were basically going to say that there's a lot of knee-jerk reactions currently based on the failure and how close we were.
Yeah,
and
exactly
it's a lot of pain right now, and people are acting out in different ways. So I've been watching a lot of YouTube recently as I work and just kind of for fun at the same time. And a lot of it seems like an echo chamber, and a lot of it is there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of anger.
Yeah.
And I get it, and everybody deals with it differently. Everybody absolutely deals with it differently. So it's really interesting just to see how everybody, and that comment, I get it. It's hard to disagree on that, but the answer becomes, well, the question now becomes, do you blow this whole thing up and start over? Because you're not guaranteed to, with a new manager to be in the same place next year. With Arteta, there's a good possibility, but it could regress too. Mm-hmm. So it's a tough one. And the dog, I love labs. I have a lab myself, so I've been kind of the defender of labs recently. So
yeah, but I mean, I'm kind of thinking, my kind of thought goes to, I'll say this, and I've been quite vocal on this on the channel here. I'll throw this to Sam in a second as well. That I've been quite, you know, pro Arteta. I thought he's done a very good job with things, but then we saw the lineup come out for the Forest game, and I was confused, and I was like, especially knowing, and I don't even think I've mentioned the guy's name who scored the goal, you know, Awoniyi, I think his name is, who's been scoring goals for fun, actually, for Forest certainly over the last sort of few games, which has secured their safety, and well done Nottingham Forest for doing that. But why would you, unless there's a serious injury crisis, which I didn't understand, why would you change the defensive lineup in such a point that it was just like, and it's almost like we never learned from everything. Like, for example, we had Zinchenko playing at this inverted left back position at Man City, and we absolutely got caught with the trousers down. And then we thought, oh, well, I know what's a good idea. We'll try and invert it on the other side and see what happens. It's like, really? Well, Sam, what are your thoughts on the Arteta question? Because a lot of people having the reaction of rookie manager in his first job, couldn't get it over the line. Think and Spence said, "Oh, mate, do we just rip it all up and go again, or do you stick with Arteta and see where we go?"
I'm trying to think it a little bit more logically. I'm trying to think, right, now he's got Champions League football, so he's got no excuse to get exactly what player he wants in the summer. So he's now should be in a place where he can go out and buy exactly who he wants. So if next season we arrive at the same point and we kind of have got exactly who we wanted, had another season where nothing really happened, I think that's when you need to kind of look and say, right, is that the time, or is that the time to start with someone else? I think it's pretty pointless to get this far in the whole journey and get Champions League football that we've wanted for the last God knows how long, and then kind of start again. Like, it just makes no sense now to start again. But if we don't get exactly who we want, I think then the questions need to start going above Arteta and above Edu,
Yeah.
because then you start to think, well, from an owner's point of view, we haven't been in a better position for the last 10, 15 years. So if he doesn't want to put the money in now and help us get to the top, because obviously the only way you can do that is by spending amounts of money. Because if he gives us 200 million, like it's saying, 200 million currently is going to get you Rice, maybe one more, and then that's your 200 million up. So yeah, I think that's where I sit with it, and just trying to look it bigger. It would just be pointless to rip it up and start again now, having come this far with it.
Yeah, that's kind of my thoughts as well. I want to bring up the comment that Arsenal Forever made. Then I'm going to play devil's advocate with them. All right. So he says Arsenal in the Champions League can get Paris Saint-Germain, Real Madrid, and Galatasaray as the possible outcome. Will finish bottom of that group, which will mean no Europa League as well. Hooray! Right. Okay, I'll respond to that, and then I'll throw it to Spencer, then I'll throw it to Sam. So Arsenal Forever. What do you want us to do as a club? So we were in a position last season about this sort of stage where we were trying to get into that top four, break through to that Champions League ceiling, okay? We couldn't manage to do that. Now, at least we managed to do that. It's almost like a progression. And that's what happens, right? So you go into this Champions League, it's like a step up, if you like. Now, for us to be able to compete at that sort of level, and don't think I'm going to say to you all, because I'm not, as positive as I try to be on my channel here, I'm not going to go and say to you all, do you know what, guys? It's all going to be great, and we're going to go win the Champions League. Hooray! Because I'm not going to say that. Because I'm not going to say something like that where we're at the stage where we haven't even finished this season off yet. I think there'll have to be a lot of movement both ways before we can even get into a place where we are competing for going into Champions League and to finish off that fight for the Premier League. So, I mean, what would you have wanted to do? Would you have wanted us to finish 5th? Would you like us to finish 6th? Or maybe we'll do the West Ham and we'll go into the Europa Conference. How would you like that? Then I'm sure this fan base wouldn't throw a fit at that sort of prospect. Okay, that was fun. I quite enjoyed that. So, would you like to respond to that, you guys? Go on, either one of you.
I kind of want to hear Spencer's views on how he sees this whole the question that I've just answered in terms of Arteta and what we do.
I think you have to stay the course. So yeah, the argument could be made when Emery took over the job. They finished 5th, and then Arteta came in because they fired Emery, and then it regressed to 8th, and they went to 8th, and then back to. So you can make that argument, and I'll listen to it. But the point I want to make on this is, why not take the challenge? That's what we're here for. If we wanted to be back in the Champions League, then bring on PSG, bring on Real Madrid, bring on Galatasaray, bring it on. I mean, do we win those games? Maybe not. Maybe we do, but we don't know until we play the games. And at the end of the day, I and this is kind of piggybacking on what you said. Like, I'm just not willing to throw it all away, because when I go look back at the last 5 years of this club, they made some bad financial decisions and brought in some players that had some heavy contracts. They had to eat Ozil's contract. They're going to have to eat, I think, Kolasinac. I don't know if he's completely out the door, but they're going to have to eat his contract. So there was a lot of shifting. You had to get a lot of dead wood out of the club. Our transfer policy was kind of poor at the time. We've made some bad decisions. But we're trying to right the ship. The Cronkies have full ownership of the team. So they've been investing money since, I think, 2018 they've had it. So now we're getting more money influx. But I think it's also 19 years of pain of not getting the title too, and it just builds up. So we're looking at, Arteta has led this 4 to 5 year window, Community Shield, FA Cup, but Arteta is getting judged also based on the Wenger years where we didn't get things done. Now, whether that's right or not, I don't think it is, but the impatientness of the fan base, I understand where they're coming from on that. But, and you can argue that we handed the league to City on a silver platter. Yeah, but we also weren't expected to be challenging for the title too. None of us, and I know like the super Arsenal fans, and I'm not saying that as a dig. The people that are, we have in America, we have an NFL team called the Dallas Cowboys, and every year we're going to win the Super Bowl. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Not many of us in the fan base was like, yeah, we're going to challenge for the title. So we've got an excitement from this team this year, and yeah, it failed, and yeah, we failed miserably in the end, but we outshot what our expectation was, our realistic expectation coming into the season. We're going to re-rack it. We're going to try to bring in other players and go for it again. You can't just quit and just stop. That's where I'm at with that, Sam. So we have to keep pushing forward. So, sorry.
You want to go, Sam?
No, I was just honestly just intrigued as to what you thought about it. But yeah, I guess the only thing that I can look for kind of good from this season is that I don't have to sit and watch games in the Europa League that really don't interest me. At least we're going to go into next season having seen something we haven't seen in a long time and be in that competition. So that's the only kind of positive that I take from it all, really, in the fact that we no longer have that argument where players will go, oh, well, I'll go to someone else that has got Champions League football. We now have that. We have Champions League football. So, yeah, that's the way I'm trying to see it. It still doesn't make it any less disappointing, but yeah.
I think I'll make the point as well that I'm old enough to remember Arsenal playing the likes of Paris Saint-Germain. This Paris Saint-Germain this will go back to 1994 and when we won the European trophy way back then. That was the European Cup Winners' Cup for any younger viewers who might not have been around. I'm old enough to remember Thierry Henry running riot at Real Madrid at the Bernabeu. And I don't necessarily think the fan base would have expected us to win there. Here's the thing, with Champions League as well, I would hope anyway, otherwise the fan base will really get on his back. If we decide to throw out a weakened side in the Champions League after all these years, it would not be acceptable. It would not happen. So this is the thing. This is why I'm hopeful that we'll take the majority of the squad that we have. They will learn, hopefully, a little bit more. I'm thinking there probably would be a couple of big outs. We'll get onto that possibly shortly. Yeah. That's absolutely right. 1-0 against Parma. Well remembered. Yes, I remember it very, very clearly. Like it was yesterday, in fact. But then that's my old brain. But, I've just had to completely... Well, I shouldn't look at the comments. My brain can't hold it. It can't handle it. But that's just why with a few transfer outs, yeah, probably big ones. I would think we'll talk about Xhaka in a little bit. There'll probably be a few more. I can only imagine bringing extra players in to boost that squad, boost their numbers. So obviously we are lacking because, as we mentioned a little while ago, that having, well, let me count them. 1, 2, 3 youth players I don't even think have played Premier League minutes. Nope. It's just madness. That's why I'm kind of hopeful for the next season. Now, obviously, there's a lot of time to go between now and I guess we're starting up in August again. Do you know what? We might even win a trophy. I think if City win the FA Cup, don't we go in the Charity Shield or Community Shield? Is that a trophy? Would you like that one?
Not really.
I'll take it. Hey.
Silverware. You've got to start positively and keep the momentum going, like the League Cup.
By default, is that right?
Well, no, it's about starting strong next year, right?
Yeah.
So if you get in there and if you play that game against them and you find a way to beat them, even if it goes to penalties, you set yourself a tone, set yourself a little confidence. The guys are going to have another year experience. That's how I look at it. You got to set the tone off and start right. You got to have a fast start. So
Yeah.
I will take the Community Shield. I will wear that badge.
And yeah, I'm not saying by any stretch of the imagination that 6 weeks ago, we would have gone into a very tricky game at Anfield, which was, and we go 2-0 up, and you can look back at my streams. There's a real big moment when Jesus scored there, and I thought my eyes went bonkers, and I thought, yeah, maybe we could win it, but then, I don't know. Maybe I've got a little bit more accepting, and that's not. Maybe that's not the wrong word for. Maybe that's not the right word for Arsenal forever or whatever. But it's like, yeah, I wanted us to win it. I think there was always that little bit of doubt. Like then we spoke about it, like the the strength and depth to see it over the line. That's just my thought. Another comment in there. Steve says, "A trophy is a trophy. Start as we mean to go on." Yeah. Well, let's hope. Say City beat United in the cup final, and then we'll go from that. We'll take. It's all ifs and buts at the moment, isn't it?
I do want to put one positive that I've been thinking actually in the second half. I watched it just kind of, but I was quite impressed with how forward playing Kivior tried to be. I was fairly impressed with him second half, and that's probably one of the only ones that can kind of come out of that and think, actually, I didn't have a bad game, because he was kind of trying his best to bring it out from defence and create something. But yeah, apart from that, I don't think anybody else can say particularly that I had a good game, because I don't think any of them did.
No. Steve, you had your hand up, mate. Sorry, Spencer. You had your
No, you're good. So I wanted to talk about the Nottingham Forest game just real quick. And this is with the lineup. So I know a lot of people have made fun of the lineup, and myself included. I understand why he did what he did. I think in Arteta's mindset, he knew the league was done, but he wanted to try something different. So that's where that lineup came from. He was just tinkering with the squad. I know a lot of people have roasted him for it, but he's got to look at next season too and decide how we're going to play this team, what we're going to do. And there's a YouTube video rolling out recently talking about Guardiola, Barcelona, and Arsenal running into this. It's called a WM formation, where you got 3 in the back and the two defenders up, and that's pretty much how the whole attack goes. And that's where that inverted left back comes from. So the lineup. I feel bad because I'm a big Kieran Tierney fan. I love Kieran Tierney. I think he should have started on Saturday, but I understand why Arteta did the lineup. I don't like it, but I understand why he did it. So I'm not defending him, but I understand as a coach, he's like, what do I need to do? And tactically, we can make an argument that since April, Arteta has kind of got it wrong in a lot of games, and I think he's trying to. Yeah, I hope he figures it out, but it's definitely. I defend him on the lineup on Saturday. It was the wrong lineup, but I understand what he was trying to do. He was tinkering with it to see what he can do next year.
Okay.
So.
But I'll bring up the Kivior left back thing that Sam just mentioned. So,
yeah,
and so my theory, I said that the only reason I wouldn't have played Tierney, he must have got injured or something. I don't understand, but. He was actually brought on relatively early on with about half hours or thereabouts to play with Tierney. I want to know your thoughts about poor Emil Smith-Rowe, who never could make it on the field, and Nketiah has been brought on ahead of him for Xhaka. Vieira was brought on for Trossard. What does Emil Smith-Rowe need to do? I don't. Any clues?
I don't really know. Looking at it from a perspective of now, the game was completely flat, and it was kind of made for someone to just come on and go, do you know what? I've got a point to prove here as to why I haven't played, and let's go out and see what I can do. So that it's not really rocket science to work that one out, is it? Because he was the kind of only attacking-minded player on the bench as such, unless you were going to put Nketiah on, which just doesn't make any sense because he's just kind of a hold-up player and kind of
I
just
suppose.
play you lump the ball into. Like, yeah, I don't know. Logically, that sounds like a good thing to do now, but actually, it seems like fairly simple to think about.
I mean, I think Vieira's looks like he's not. He wasn't ready for Premier League. I think Vieira probably will go out of the club. I think he'll probably end up going out on loan somewhere, because I don't think they would have spent all the money and then completely abandoned on it. But I think they'll probably loan him somewhere. He might go back up into Portugal or something. That's just kind of my thoughts. But
He needs it.
Smith Rowe was the attacking option with actually quite a lot of goal record. Let's not forget he was second top scorer last year, and he got all them assists as well. I don't know if ESR will leave. He might do.
Yeah,
but
if someone comes knocking on the door for him, he's going to be thinking, well, I haven't been able to break into this team. Is that going to happen?
Yeah.
So he might be tempted now.
There's a bit of talk, isn't there, that Smith Rowe could replace Xhaka in that position. Maybe that's why, I don't know.
I've heard that.
It's apparently Arteta is teaching the lad to use that sort of, that sort of position. So maybe, I don't know, maybe going back into that sort of further attacking role. I don't know. Would it confuse the lad? I don't know.
Yeah.
I'll just go out and play football.
I would say so, because I don't think he's ever, if you were going to shift him back to CDM, you would have had to have seen times when he's been good at defending. Can you note any time that he's been particularly stand out for his defending? Never when I've seen him play. He's always been a player
Always
that's kind
been
of
attacking.
Game. Yeah.
Yeah.
And get us going. So that just seems completely daft to me, if I'm honest.
I agree. I want to say big up to Arsenal internet sensation Fran, who's just joined us in the chat. She's been a very busy girl here, there, and everywhere. Make sure you check her out. Her channel is Golarzo. It's very, very good. Please watch it. Thank you very much. So Posh thinks ESR's going to go next season, and whoever gets them gets a talented player at their disposal. And Arsenal forever thinks that he's going to go and play for Emery at Aston Villa. Could happen, I suppose. What do you think, Spencer?
I love ESR. I would hate to see him go. But if you're like Saturday was screaming for him to come on, and if you're gonna bringing up the point about Xhaka, because I heard about them trying to convert him to the Xhaka position as well. Saturday would have been the game to bring him on. I think Vieira is a little attacking himself.
Yeah,
but that to me, like the fact that he's been frozen out, and even when he did come on, the one game for the Bournemouth game, he was subbed off again. So it could be fitness related, but it's a hard one because I think he's so talented. I think he would fetch you a huge transfer fee. I do believe that. But would you want to sell him? I think no. There's other players I'd rather sell first before him.
Yeah, so many.
You guys have to remember as well. I don't know the absolute facts on it, but there is a quotation you have to have in terms of like homegrown players and such like that. So that's why I don't think Emil Smith Rowe will go. Pictured actually in some of the promotional pictures and some of the new kits I have seen. Maybe if that's got anything to do with it, I don't if it has any substance to it. I don't know. Arsenal forever says, yeah, honestly, I think that something's gone on between ESR and Arteta. It could have done. Unfortunately, we're not privy to the cameras behind the scenes this year.
No.
Well, I'm thankful because imagine we've got to the end of the season and watched it, and then we've got to go onto Amazon and watch it all again. That just seems like torture.
I've got a buddy. He refuses to watch the Amazon documentary. He still hasn't to this day watched it.
I mean, it'll be called what? Arsenal nothing again.
But I think I saw one that said Arsenal all for nothing. So
All
it's a
for
little
nothing.
spin on.
That's clever.
Yeah,
That's better than what I did. But
Better to laugh than to cry.
do you know what? That's the only thing I can possibly do. You guys know me. I've never been one to particularly rant. That's not really my style. Possibly the worst you've ever saw me was on Saturday, when the raw emotion was getting to me, and I couldn't believe we couldn't even get 3 passes together. But that's where we were. You know, hey, at least we got an exciting game of against Wolves to look forward to, and we can see the new kit. That'd be nice.
I don't think to be honest with you, at this moment in time, I don't think I even want to watch it.
Well, I did not see it.
Yeah, the last game for the women's is the day before, so I watched that with pleasure. I don't think I even want to watch the Wolves game. If I'm out doing something else, it really won't bother me, because it's just at this point a completely pointless game of football, because Wolves are staying up, they're safe, and we've got nothing to play for. Doesn't matter if we win, lose, draw, whatever. It's just the most pointless game of football.
Yeah, possibly is.
Yeah.
But do you know what? It's going to be one more game. Get out of the way, then we can have a bit of a break, and then we'll see where we are. And perhaps it might be the last time we see Granit Xhaka in the shirt this weekend, because there we go. Nicely done, huh? So so it's like with lots of talk in the press that the move to Bayer Leverkusen, I think it is, sounds like it's more or less done. I mean, again, I've said this before, he's one that very much will have mixed feelings with the fan base. I'll give him credit for where it's due. He has some sort of leading qualities. He's had a great season for his moments. I mean, he's been at the club, I think, 7 years. I mean, one decent goal scoring return in season after a lot of red cards, a lot of ill discipline and stuff. I don't know if that levels out, but
no, I don't think so. I won't remember him that fondly, if I'm honest. I don't think, because he's kind of had the times that he's made me literally rage way out, completely way out. This one season that he's had that's really good. I just don't think it'd be one I'll remember, to be honest. I'll remember him for the wrong reasons rather than the good ones.
Would you like to comment on Xhaka, Spencer?
Yeah, so that's a tough one, because it's a complicated history, and the red cards, the lack of discipline. You could make an argument this is the first year he's been played in a super forward position, and we've always viewed him as this holding midfielder, which in reality he's more of an 8, a little bit higher up the pitch. But you know, the captain's armband incident against Crystal Palace, the red cards, the lack of discipline. But sports is a what have you done for me lately industry, and he's gonna be remembered by some in a good light and in others in a bad light. So you watch some of the social media stuff. I think they did the Players Count Tribune did an interview with him talking about his family and everything, trying to make him more human. But the more I think about it, the more I have to agree with Sam. It's time to go, and he still should be appreciated for what he's done. And it's going to be a player that 20 years from now, we're going to sit down and be like, what do you really feel about Granit Xhaka? And you're either going to not like him or you're going to love him. There's not going to be an in between.
Yeah.
And I think it is time to move. If we're serious about, like Arsenal Forever said, PSG, Real Madrid, Galatasaray, sorry, we need to upgrade. And unfortunately, Xhaka has a ceiling, and it's time to find someone a little bit better than him.
Yeah,
so.
I agree with that. I won't bring up the comment because, as you guys all know, we try and keep the language a bit PG if we can here. But I'll bring up the point more or less that one good season from Xhaka out of 7's not good enough. Let's not forget he told the fans to clear off. So it's a big clear off Xhaka from him, and good riddance. It doesn't quite say clear off, but you get the gist. But So in terms of replacing Xhaka, so I said we'll do a little bit of gossip, a little bit of speculation. In terms of players coming in, we talk. I mean, probably to death, to be honest with you. Wouldn't it be a real kick in the teeth if Declan Rice don't join us now, after all this written and everything like that? What are your thoughts on Declan? Would you fancy that taking the West Ham captain?
Yeah. I also had a point though that I've looked at what their Real Madrid are going to pay for Jude Bellingham, and they reckon that's around about the £87 million mark. So if that's what they're going to pay for someone like Jude Bellingham, we can't be going out and spending 100 plus on Declan Rice, because that's just not. We probably will, because of all this English tax rubbish and but we've got to find a good price for him. If you can find a good price for him, then that's fantastic. But if we go over £100 million on him, that's just going to be ridiculous.
I mean, I had heard the reports of him going to Munich, but I mean, could that happen? I don't know. I mean, again, it's funny. The English player does seem to warrant a big old price tag, doesn't it? So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. Arsenal forever says we need a right back, centre back, 2 midfielders, winger, striker. In the summer, you don't want much, do you, mate?
That's a big list.
Yeah. I mean, there'll be ins and outs, and I can certainly think of. We'll probably do it on another stream, because I do want to kind of wrap this up quite soon, because I think Newcastle and Leicester are going to kick off very shortly. So I want to jump into that in a minute. But 2 other names that have come across. One, I kind of quite like the idea of, because he's been brilliant for City, and I think this is a free transfer as well, potentially out of contract. Gundogan. Would you think that's a suitable replacement, perhaps, for Granit?
Go ahead.
Well, and you go, Spencer.
I'm gonna say no, but I would take him. Yeah, I don't think he's. I mean, he's 32, and we can't be snobbery because he's been very successful, but we need to get a little bit younger profile. And like you said, 87 million for Jude Bellingham. We can't be paying 120 for Declan Rice. I think he's a good player, but he's not $120 million worth. And unfortunately for Declan Rice, unfortunately for him, I think all 6 clubs, maybe not Tottenham, but are going to be having a go for him, because I think Man City are going to try to go for him. Newcastle. I know everybody says, hey, have that deal wrapped up before July 1st. I don't think it happens, because I think there's going to be so many suitors, and you're going to have someone like Chelsea come in there and say, hey, we know we're on Champions League football. We'll give you an 8-year contract, 250, 275K a week, bumps up if we make it in the Champions League. So the replacement for Xhaka, I think it's going to probably be someone that we haven't thought about at this point. That's my gut feeling. Caicedo would be nice. If we could get Caicedo and Rice. I like the Mason Mount discussion. I know some people don't, but I think he's a good player.
So listen, I think the amount of times Caicedo's name has been mentioned by Posh Bertie in particular is ridiculous on this channel. But he's a great player. He was fantastic against us the other day, wasn't he? And he wasn't even playing in Blooming midfield. He was playing at right back. Fancy that, playing a midfielder at right back. Who'd do that?
Yeah. I don't think we saw that much of him in terms of you would go out and spend 70 million on him. I wasn't overly impressed with him, to the fact that I would say, right, that's a must. We must go and spend 70 million on him, because he's not 70 million pounds worth of a player, I don't think.
No. I don't. I like it as a general as a player. I think he's done very well. Is it second season syndrome coming in? I don't know. We'll see. I quite like the idea of it, but then I don't. Did I mean? Am I remembering this wrong, or did you not sign a new contract for
He
Brighton?
did. To
So-
2027, I believe.
So,
And
I
also,
mean-
he's probably speaking still a bit bitterly in the fact that he just kind of wiped out Martinelli. I'm still probably looking at it in that terms as well.
And I get that. I
Um,
get that.
So I'm probably not looking at it as the bigger picture. But yeah, I'm just not entirely sure that switching someone that's 31 for someone that's 32 is the right idea, because that's just kind of filling a hole, isn't it? That's not kind of making
Well-
yourself better, because
I
he
mean-
wouldn't drastically make us magically better. He's probably going to bring some stability, but that'll be about it. He's not going to take us to the next level in TDM.
I mean, is the thought process? I don't know. Jorginho only joined us in January. Would he shift him out? Because I know he's only on a short-term contract. Perhaps that's a decent shout. The other one name I'll bring out before we go, I think, is Mason Mount, which is another name. And he's big mates with Declan as well, don't forget. Do we fancy him?
I do.
I'm not. It wouldn't be one that would get me particularly excited, to be honest. In a better team, yes, he might be a better player, but it's not somebody I'd be running to the hills and going, "Oh yeah, that's amazing." It would kind of be a.
And the rumor mill now says that he's going to stay at Chelsea. That's the rumor mill.
Isn't it fun this time of year when you?
Oh, it's great.
We go and play FIFA and decide how, or in fact we could go and play Retro Football Manager, and then we could do all your transfer business on there, get it all done in a couple of presses of a button. It's easy.
But we also kind of know what happens when we get to this like kind of transfer window as an Arsenal fan. We just kind of spend the whole transfer window getting excited about all these different players that we get linked with. And not many of them ever come off. I'm kind of talking a bit cynical here, but it kind of is that way, isn't it? That we kind of get linked to everyone now, but then we spend the whole time kind of, oh, shall we, shan't we? Oh, we've left. Somebody else has got them. Oh, we'll go for somebody else. It's kind of like, I hope this time it's different. Because we're in a really good position now, but who knows?
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because it's you take a break, right? We're going to take a well-deserved break from this. And then you'll open the newspaper or the turn on the internet and you'll see you're linked with Lionel Messi. And you're like, oh no, here we go again.
It's this by Ronaldo as well. Why not?
I mean, at this stage, it's too much fun. I would like to see, I know there was a guy mentioned earlier this year, and this is an MLS shout for the Americans, but Fernando Torres of the Orlando City, Orlando City FC. So he's a right winger. They were linked to him last summer. This was actually because they came over to America. They played up in Baltimore. They played Everton, and then he went down to Orlando, played the MLS team, and then played Chelsea. That would be another interesting one to kick the tires on as a backup winger. But I'm not Edu, so. Yeah.
No, and that's probably a good thing. We're none of us are Edu. We just enjoy being an Arsenal fan and getting all stressed about things, and then going on the internet and having a little chat about the whole thing. So that's what it's all about. Before I was going to wrap it up, but there's news that's broken in front of me now. I don't know how much you guys will know your Serie A, but Juventus have been deducted 10 points. This is this is from this season. I think there was obviously a little bit of financial discrepancies going on with some of the deals and stuff. Initially, I feel like it was about a month ago. The initial deduction was taken away, but Sky Sports in front of my eyes have just said that that's happened again. So I don't know if you have any instant reaction to that.
It just doesn't really affect us in any way, does it? It's not.
It doesn't, but it was breaking news, so I thought I'd say it.
So it's not out of like any like Europa League or Conference League qualification. It's knocked them down to 7th. So
I think it has a small effect, not to Arsenal, but to soccer in general, football, excuse me. I think it has an effect. It's all good. I call them both football. So it shows that the financial rules do matter to an extent. And if Italy's going to hold their clubs accountable, we would hope that the English would do the same. Just as the Americans over here, we have like a salary cap in MLS, and it's a very community organized where they share revenue and everything. I think that's where it's important. Now, granted, this whole thing I've heard people talk about, massive point deductions for City and massive fines and kicked out of the Football League. I personally think if they did that, it would not the point deductions, but kicked them out of the Football League and put them down at like League One, League Two. I think that would bring on the Super League quicker than people want to believe, in my opinion. But and I would hate to see that. But yeah. I think it matters to an extent. The financial fair play rules matter. You have to play within the rules, and it's good to see someone being held accountable if they skirted the rules. Just my opinion. So
I think that's a great way to end that one. Arsenal Forever probably has a final comment saying, bring in Mr. Arsenal David O'Leary as Director of Football, I guess he means. That's a name I haven't heard in a little while. I think of Tony Adams as Mr. Arsenal, but of course, David O'Leary is the record appearance holder for the club. Balogun, he says as well, has scored 20 goals in the French league. Surely you have to keep him and sell Nketiah. Guys, what do you think on Balogun?
I don't see what. Again, it's kind of like, what's the point? He's done so well in front, so if he's still your player, why not bring him back and give him a shot?
So would you sell Nketiah for?
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of Nketiah anyway, so he doesn't certainly take us to the next level that we need as a striker.
So as an American, obviously you've heard that Balogun has pledged allegiance to the United States.
You knew where I was going to go there, didn't you? You just knew I was going to say that.
So I liked him already as he's an Arsenal player, but now I love him even more. Because that was honestly, as a U.S. men's team, I know this is an Arsenal podcast naturally, but the U.S. men's team, that's where we were missing, was on the number 9 position. Because I think we have really good players in Tyler Adams, McKennie, Musa. Not to bore you with that stuff, but I really would love to see him play for Arsenal. And there's some biases in my decisions on that, but I know we have to sell to make some funds. But it's like Sam said, Nketiah, I like him to an extent. But if we're going to be a Champions League club, you have to get better. And I just don't know if Nketiah is that guy you're going to take to do that. Yeah. Balogun, we don't know. We really do not know. So, and it's even funny that Lacazette was, I think, the leading scorer in the French league too. So, is that all come down to a style Arteta plays? Maybe. Maybe these guys still have some value. Maybe the style should. That's the one thing I wish Arteta would find multiple ways to play. Not just to have the 9 come back and do hold-up play, but you need a target man in the box. You need a 6-yard guy that can clean up the trash in the box.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, who knows? We'll see what happens. But I would love to see Arsenal bring Balogun back, but we shall see what happens. But if someone comes to you and drops you 80 million for him, not that that's going to happen, but you never know. Do you do it?
I think that's very much a case of wait and see, isn't it? I mean, we've not seen much of Balogun in an Arsenal shirt, but as Posh Bertie says here, he'd keep him. Saliba flourished in the French league, and look what happened to him now. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And to go back to a point that Spence said a little while ago, Saliba got injured. But before then, Arsenal conceded 24 league goals. Look how many goals we've conceded since he's been out injured.
I think it's doubled too. I think it's almost doubled. I think we're almost at like 46 goals conceded.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you think about it, the 3 against Southampton for a start, 2 against West Ham, 2 against Liverpool, 3 against Brighton, and then, it's big numbers, and it was something we definitely didn't see beforehand. But there you
Saka's
go.
form is also dipped, also because of Saliba. I think I was listening to Tom Canton talk today about it on Gunner Talk about how his form has dropped down based on Saliba being out because the XG has gone down statistically. Saka has been less productive without Saliba on there, which I think in plays with Ben White being able to be more free up the field. So we miss him drastically.
Yeah, and I think we've mentioned that Saka's he's just looked out of steam for about a month as well, and that's something that we definitely need to address the lack of cover. I mean, so that we have. I'm trying to wrap it up. Reece Nelson was missing up for this weekend as well because apparently he was ill. But again, we did have other players. We did have Emil Smith Rowe who could have played, but I don't know.
Looking at it though, if you've played like he has pretty much every game of this season, you are going to be completely and absolutely exhausted. I don't see many other players that play every single minute of every single game in the other teams. Do you?
He literally is featured in every single Premier League game, I believe. Even if he hasn't started every, I think he has more or less started all but one.
Not in a position where you have the amount of miles that would be, or kilometers, excuse me, that would be ran. I mean, you've probably got a couple Van Dijk and those guys have probably played a lot of games, but the center back doesn't make as much movement as Saka would. And the way we play, he's demanded to almost play 20 to 20, box to box. So, yeah, that's a tough one. That's
What you make of Arsenal's Forever's question here? Do you think Xhaka's performances this season is down to him for making this move to Leverkusen, presumably?
Do you think Xhaka's performance? So is he basically saying that
he's playing? He's had a best season for Arsenal, is what he means. And do you think he was? I don't know, getting the playing better to orchestrate a move. I think is what he's suggesting. Because I don't think that's the case at all. He's just been used differently, I think.
Yeah.
And used just further forward, And I think it's a family situation as well. By the way, I think his good lady, I think wants to move to Germany. I think is the idea anyway.
I mean, he was linked to Hertha Berlin. He was linked to Roma last year, so he's been linked to teams in the past. Yeah, I think it's more it's just good form. His behavior is, I don't know. That's another discussion. But again, I want to give this. We need to give Arteta credit too. Look how much our discipline has improved since last year too. I don't think we've had a red card. I know I just may have jinxed us, but we haven't had a red card yet this year. And last year, I think we had 5 or 6. And even the year before, it was.
Do you know
worse.
what? I think you're right there. I can't
think of one off the top of my head. You got one, Sam? Did you think of or?
I don't think so.
Yeah. So discipline-wise, we've improved drastically. I'll look at the numbers and statistically and look at it. I'm pretty sure. I mean, fouls are obviously subjective naturally, but yellow cards but it definitely improved. No question about that.
Yeah.
So.
But like you mentioned, I think Jose Mourinho is definitely after Xhaka for Roma, as Arsenal Forever says. So, guys, I think we'll try and wrap it up now because, as we said, we've been going for over an hour, and I want to have some dinner. In all fairness, and I'm sure you guys want to go and enjoy watching Newcastle versus Leicester. So, thank you very much, Spencer. Before we give our details out, let me put you solo. Would you like to tell everybody who you are and your channel, etc.?
All right, I am Spencer. I am a United States-based Virginia Gooner. The YouTube channel is down here. There it is, Spencer Bronco and VA 9986. On Instagram at Arsenal 9986. You're gonna get a lot of. I'm not a ranter. I don't yell. There's just not worth yelling over. But if you want, I'm starting to do my own stuff and hop on whenever Lee has me on and other people as well. And that's really it. I'm glad to be here. So
thank you very much, mate. It's been an absolute pleasure. I really enjoyed having you there.
Nice meeting you, Sam.
Let me just put your the banner up. Sam, do you want to do your Twitter and stuff, mate?
Yeah, I was just as I was listening to Spencer's plug, I'm just going to subscribe to his channel. Bear with me. But yeah, I am Sam Wilson on Twitter with the 1 in the space of I.
Fantastic. You can find me at Gooner Lee Mead on Twitter. You can find all of us here at Gooner Gathering. Drop us a message. I will respond to you as soon as I can. If you want to being part of a show or part of our panel at some stage, it's exactly what Spencer did earlier on today. And look, here he is on the channel today. So, guys, thank you very much for watching us. I know we're sort of ending the season on a bit of a whimper, but hopefully we entertained you all this evening. And we'll keep your eyes on the socials. We'll let you know when we're back on air. Most probably I'll drop a video tomorrow with the Retro Football Management game. So until we see you next time, take care of yourselves all. And yeah, we'll see you soon.
Care, guys.